Hi, it's Tony from CassetteComeback.com, and today I'm going to tackle three things with this video. One, why it's good to have a good two-head cassette deck. Two, why it's good to have more than one cassette deck. And three, I'm going to look at the baddest bad boys of cassettes that I've come across. What are these cassettes? This one, the 1985 Philips Ultra Chrome UCII, and its brother, the Philips Master Chrome from 1985. These cassettes are just what I need to go through all the topics in this video. So, these cassettes, why are they the baddest bad boys? Let me just tell you. If back in 1985 I'd bought myself either of these, and to be fair, they're different models, but sonically I can't tell a lot of difference between them. If I bought these, went into Woolworths and got myself a 5-pack for £4.99 and went home and slapped these in my boombox and did some high-speed dubbing recording, I'd have been returning them shortly afterwards to the shop saying, "Excuse me, I think these have gone bad. They sound absolutely terrible." Why is that? Well, these, because it's Philips, are going to be made by DuPont. And DuPont were the people that originally created the chrome pigment for Type 2 tape. And they licensed it out, and BASF was one of the biggest licensees, and AGFA, and I won't get into that because I sort of touched that before. But these, even though they're from Philips, the people that created the compact cassette, these do not in any way, shape or form, from what I can see, correspond to an IEC standard. Now, if we look at the back of this, it says this is a frequency response, and then we've got the maximum output level, and as you see there, 0 dB, it doesn't really want to go above there, and then it tapers off as you get to the top end quite sharply. And again, this is the same on this. So what does that mean? I don't know, and I don't care. That's not the point. The point is, let's open one of these up. These are the hardest cassette I've ever tried to bias up on a deck. I mean, you'll see this today. I'm going to struggle, but I always do with these. And if we look at them, this is quite a plain shell. This is quite a cheap shell with a cheap sticker with a little bubble in it, and it is screwed at the back, there is screws there, but this isn't an impressive looking cassette. Maybe it's retro cool, but the thing is, this reeks of wax crayons. This is a real pure chrome, and this one is as well. And like I said, they're very similar. Now, this is a perfect cassette to go through the three topics that I said I'm going to go through today. So let's start with the second topic, I think, which was why it's good to have more than one cassette deck, and why it doesn't matter what you play the cassette on afterwards. If you make a good recording in the first place, it'll always sound good. Let me demonstrate. Okay, so this is my Technics RS-BX501. This deck was so cheap that I got it free with a mini disc player when I bought it off somebody. This is a two-head, end-of-line deck for Technics. These aren't expensive. So why would I have this when I've got some nice three-head Nacs and Denons and Iwas? Why would I have this deck? Simple. Three-head decks are more expensive, and they're also higher on maintenance. I mean, some will argue, no, they're not, but, they're a bit more complicated, obviously, and they're worth more. So why would I wear out a three-head deck simply playing back tapes when a two-head deck can, on the whole, play back tapes just as well? Again, people argue, no, they don't. Yes, the electronics has something to do with it. But what I'm saying is the important part is this. When you record a tape, you must make a best recording that you can on the tape. Get the bias right, get the levels right. Once the bias and levels are right when you've recorded it, then when you play it back on another deck, it will sound just as good because they'll have been written to the tape. The magnetics will have been written to the tape, so it will sound good. So if you record a tape well on a good three-head deck and you want to play it back, you can play it back on a two-head deck, and the fact that it's a two-head deck doesn't have any bearing on it really, because like I say, you use a 3-head deck for recording so that you can monitor it, so you can adjust the bias and make sure the tape isn't bad. But when you're happy that it's been recorded well, you can play it back just as good on a nice 2-head deck. In fact, this one's also reversed, so it will flip it over for me as well, which my 3-head decks won't. So let me show you what I mean. This deck cannot record this Philips MC2 well. I'm just going to put it in, and I'm going to do the ATC, which is the Technics version of auto calibration. So it's now recording a bias tone onto the tape. Because it's not a 3-head deck that can listen to it straight away, it stops, it rewinds, and it tries to get the bias right. So it's played it back down, it's tried to adjust the bias. Okay, that's the bias done. Now it's going to try and do the EQ. Okay, the EQ is done, and now it's going to try and do the level. So it's putting some tones on to check the level. Rewind it, and then try and get the level up. You can see here the ATC memory is flashing fast. That means that this couldn't calibrate the tape properly, and it seemed to lose it on the level. However, let's record anyway. So I'm just going to record some tape here. Bearing in mind, you're going to be listening to the source, not the tape, because simply this is a 2-head deck, you can't monitor it. Okay, let's give it some music. Again, this is from the YouTube royalty free library. I like it because it's got pronounced bass line and pronounced treble. No, this is peaking at just under 0. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's rewind this tape and have a listen. Now, as you can see here, we're at like -8, -5 off source. Doesn't sound particularly good. Doesn't sound terrible, but it doesn't sound right. And like I say, we could crank the volume up, but this deck couldn't calibrate this tape. So does that mean, therefore, that you can never use this tape in a deck like this, or even worse, one which has been calibrated to SA or the like, a cobalt doped ferric, and has no manual calibration? Does that mean you can't use these tape in them? No, it does. It just means you can't make great recordings in them. But now we're going to shuffle over and we're going to make some good recordings on these. Okay, so now on my NAC, I'm going to put this in. But the first thing is we're going to listen to a bit of the sound of silence. Have a listen to when the leader comes in and then when the tape comes in. Have a good listen. See if you can listen when the tape starts. Like I said, I'll rewind this all the way to the start. It's all the way rewound. Have a listen. That is just about the quietest tape I've ever heard. It is so quiet. Now, the bias is smack on centre here. Let's listen to some music. I'm not going to compare it to the source because this is going to be decibels down from the source and I can't alter the level on the NAC. But just have a listen to the music itself. It's a bit hot. We want to keep this at 0. Now, let's add some negative.
Lots of bass, lots of bass for a Type 2. And if I stop it, the low hiss. Now you see, that now sounded a lot better than the Technics. But then we come to its brother, the UCII. Now, the same settings, I'm going to just plop it in. You think UCII, MCII, same year, same tape. Let's keep it at the same settings and record some music on this. It sounds pretty good, but let's make this really sparkle now. Now, even though this is a Type 2, I'm going to change my tape selector to Type 1. It's going to sound bad, but bear with me. Bear with me. That sounds really good, doesn't it? Even though it's been recorded at 120 microseconds instead of 70. But if we stop that now and put the MCII in and record it exactly the same, it sounds terrible. No, the MCII needs to be on Type 2. Full negative. Bizarre. So just to recap, MCII struggles to auto-calibrate, about 6 dB down from source, needs full negative bias, and you cannot go higher than 0 dB. UCII again, down from source, but doesn't need full negative bias if you record it as a Type 1, when you can give it some positive bias, crank the levels, and it makes a really good recording. Like I say, these are very strange cassettes, but if your deck can handle them, the hiss, these are the lowest hiss cassettes, and they have such a full, rich sound. But back to the Technics. Let me just pause a second and do a switch cut. So get to the point, Tony, apart from these being very, very tricky tips to actually record on, what's the point? Well, I'm going to take this UCII, and I recorded this on the NAC as a Type 1, i.e. 120 microseconds, and boatloads of positive bias. Now this is a tape that I couldn't record on the Technics, and I certainly couldn't record it like that. But if you listen to the outcome, like I say, it doesn't matter what deck it was recorded on or how it was recorded, as long as it was recorded well. And this has been recorded well. Have a listen to what it sounds like.
rich bass, low hiss, and the highs are there. It sounds very full. So it goes back to the point, if you record it well in the first place, it will sound well, as best as it can on other decks. So you don't necessarily need to use your expensive 3-head deck to play back a cassette that has been well recorded on a 3-head deck. So what did you make of that? Well, these cassettes, they remind me of a partner I once had. Now, this girl had issues. This girl was sometimes a real pain. But when things were good and everything was right, she was amazing to be with. And that's what these are like. They're temperamental, fiery almost. You need a deck with lots of calibration functions to be able to get the most out of these. Put these in a 2-head deck that you can't calibrate, and like I say, you're gonna think that they're faulty. They really are hard work. I don't know whether part of this is because of age or it's the way they were designed. I mean, thanks to the guys on Tapeheads, because somebody recommended this for pure chromes. This particular one, which I personally think, even though this is the Master Chrome, this is a one which is more compatible and is easier to get a good sound out of. But even then, the guys at Tapehead said try recording these as type 1. And not every deck can do that. You need to have a deck with a manual bias selection. So record these as type 1. And I think you heard there it made a great recording. But more importantly, what it meant was that if you make a good recording, it will sound as good as that on other decks. It won't be because a deck can't record a particular cassette doesn't mean it can't play it back. Once the recording's been made, and if the recording's good, the recording's good. It's as simple as that. And you really have to work at these. Are these my favourite cassettes? No, they're hard work. You've got to work at them. They're quiet. You can't do the monitoring properly because the levels are always down for volume compared to the source, so you're not always sure if it's 100% right. But sometimes you just have to forget that. And sometimes you have to just take the sound as it comes. And these have such low hiss, the level isn't a problem. You need lots of negative bias, unless of course you're recording this as a type 1 where you need positive bias. But these cassettes really are cassettes that sort the men from the boys and really sort your equipment out. Would I go and buy lots and lots of these to record on? Nah, if I could be bothered. But as you've heard, they make lovely, full, low hiss recordings if your equipment's up to it. And this is part of the hobby, and this is part of the joy. A CD, you pop it in there, you burn it at whatever speed, chances are you're going to make a copy with no effort. These you've got to work at. They really are cassettes that sort your decks out. I do have these in stock. But bear in mind, if you do buy them and you can't get a good recording on them, please don't come back for a refund, because I've explained really you need a really good deck to make the recordings on these. But like everything in life, sometimes when you have to work at it hard, it's more rewarding. If you open a box of cornflakes, tip it out and a Rolex falls out, that Rolex isn't going to mean a lot. It's only after you say saved and worked hard and earned it that it means something. And a good recording on these cassettes certainly has to be earned. So maybe that's why I find them so gratifying when I listen to them. As always, please like this, because there's somebody negative in all of my videos, and even though I'm getting hundreds of views, I'm getting like 30 likes, and so it's making me look like, you know, I've got like 97% positive. So please do like it, please do subscribe and share, and I'll do some more for you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.